Good evening, everybody. It's Paul. I'm reporting live from my sofa. If you like what I'm cooking and you want to know when it's being served, hit subscribe, click that dinner bell, pull your chair up to the table when you hear it a-ringing, and let's get to dishing. So, I wanted to come on here. I've actually been making several videos today, and I was like, I have to come back on here and do this. If anybody is familiar, you've already read the headline, so if you are familiar with Serial Season 1, the case of Adnan Syed, he was the alleged murderer in the episode, then please tell me you have watched this one, because this one took the country by storm. It came out in like late 2014. This was one, I've listened to podcasts before, but this one literally, I mean, I was in it to win it. I was on Reddit. I was on everything. I was going to take a road trip to Maryland. I mean, you name it, I was there. You know, put me on the FBI payroll. I deserve some money for that. So I wanted to just get a conversation going about it, because there have been developments, not happy developments, and a new documentary is coming out to kind of catch everybody up to it. I literally did not know the documentary was coming out until today, and it comes out today on HBO. Today is Sunday when I'm filming this. I believe they're talking about this Sunday. The article was March 8th, so I would assume it has to be. So the biggest thing, so a couple of days ago, it jogged my memory again when I saw that there was basically his new chance at a trial has been taken away from him. So it was a huge relief when he got granted this, and it's kind of been an uphill battle with this case. I mean, if you listen to season 1, you heard it play out. I mean, what an uphill battle it was. But then when he finally was granted this new trial, and then to have it taken away from him, it's just like, oh my gosh. I mean, it was so frustrating for so many people, and so it's so heart-wrenching, especially for all of them, I'm sure, when you see these cases get that you're just so sure that it's not supposed to be what it is, and they get that close. And just like Brandon, what's his name? Brandon. Brandon from The Nephew in Making a Murderer. You know, when he gets right up to there, and it's like, and now we're taking this chance away from you. So, anyways, I just wanted to kind of put some feelers out there by doing this video to see if anybody is, into this still, if they're watching it, what kind of conversation we can get going. The obvious starter for this conversation is, do you think he did it? So, for me personally, now, and I will say this, for the longest time with Serial, I went back and forth and back and forth. And, I mean, they kind of do that. I mean, that was just such a well-produced, I felt, podcast. And so I went back and forth, and then, you go down. For me, I did a lot of, like, Reddit searches and stuff like that. And so, and just corresponding. And so you go down this rabbit hole, and then that doesn't make sense. You go down this rabbit hole, you listen to all the different testimony, and I just felt like, above all, and again, I think that's a theme with a lot of these cases, is that justice was not served, whether the judicial system was not played out correctly. To me, I feel like there is such major evidence that that was entered, like the cell phone tower pings. I mean, those just aren't, especially then, they just aren't that reliable. And so I felt like, especially those, when you're relying on witness testimony from not so great witnesses, such as the person who testified, Jay, who testified against him, it's just frustrating to me that you can lock someone away based on stuff like that. So I felt like definitely there was timeline discrepancies, witness discrepancies. Then you had these people come forward that, could possibly provide the alibi. Then you put the whole odd thing into the scenario of his lawyer. And I just felt like that was such a major thing, because, I mean, I think it was multiple sclerosis that she had. And so there was just this level of, I just can't believe that. I mean, it doesn't surprise me, because nothing surprises me at this point anymore. But I'm just like, I can't believe that they took the trial away. So I found a couple of articles that I read over. I'm not going to read them over here, but I'm going to drop the links. One of them was mostly like a review about the HBO documentary, kind of like saying this is the direction it goes in. And it sounded pretty interesting. Again, I think it sounds like it's a 4-part series. Sounds like they're trying to put some focus on the victim, Hyman Lee, I believe is her name. I might be pronouncing that wrong. I'm sorry if I am. They try and put a lot of focus on that. it may be looking at, it sounded like it was, read the article, it sounded like it was taking a little bit of a left turn from what one might expect, and kind of bringing light to some of the issues that can take place with these things. So my ear just cut on, so hopefully that's not going to mess things up here, but I'll continue on. I'm using my ear thing here, so hopefully that won't mess it up, and people can hear me better. So anyways, we'll continue. So where was that? So the other article was more like just kind of catching people up and yada yada. And so for me, I needed to read through this because, again, I was gripped by the podcast. Then honestly, it just kind of went to the background. Like, I followed it in the news for a while, but I mean, that's how these things go. They bring these cases to the forefront, and then, I mean, it's somebody's life, and it's the victim's life, and it's the victim's family's life, and it's, you know, the wrongly accused life and their family, and all these things, and it brings up a lot of different stuff, and you can follow in the newspapers, but until something really starts to go, it's easy to put it on the back burner, and that's what I did with this case, unfortunately. So I'm just going to kind of go through this. So I'm just going to pick up on little key points here, and again, the point of this video is just to throw a feeler out there, see if people are interested in having a conversation, a dialogue about it. Also, if you have not seen this and you're following me and you're into this, absolutely stop what you're doing. Don't go to work Monday morning, you binge that Serial podcast 1 through 10, and then you go, I don't know if HBO's dropping all 4 of them at one time, or if it's going to be like ongoing or whatever. So, and I haven't seen that one yet, so I mean, we can definitely have a conversation about that to see where we're at. So anyways, I digress, let's go. So you know, here we go. So Adnan Syed, he was convicted. Now, let's see, the crime. January 13th, 1999, Heyman Lee, she left high school. Basically, she never came home after that. A month later, her body was found buried in Leakin Park in Baltimore's Western Edge. The police investigation led to Lee's ex-boyfriend, Adnan, and he pleaded not guilty, but he was convicted in 2000 of first-degree murder and kidnapping. Life in prison. He's maintained his innocence ever since. Lee and Syed were kind of boyfriend girlfriend for a while, but they had to keep it on the down low because of basically their families. They were very conservative, and they came from different backgrounds, and so they just kind of kept it on the down low. She ended up kind of being like, "Look, this isn't going to work because of that." Went their own separate ways. People just said the nicest things about her. I mean, she just sounded like such a wonderful person. Oh, Roscoe's making his appearance. He is ready to come over here. Here we go. Okay. So everyone just said wonderful things about her, and she just sounded like an amazing human being, who obviously left us way too soon. So I want to read this section right here because this kind of goes on what the prosecution relied on, which I just find very interesting. So the prosecutors relied heavily on a few main pieces of evidence. None of it was physical. That's where it gets tricky. And I mean, again, there's many cases out there where there's evidence like this, and it's like, okay, I'm not trying to sit here and say that, oh, well, they could always have to have physical evidence. I mean, each case is different. It's like a fingerprint. Yeah, but I just feel like when you don't have like a true tie-in, like we've got you here and da-da-da-da-da, you just have to be so careful with that. So anyways, I digress. Here we go. None of it was physical. The most important was testimony by a friend of Adnan's named Jay Wild, who told the police that he had helped Syed to bury Lee's body after Syed confessed to killing her on January 13th. So there was that confession thing. Hold on. I'm sorry. Roscoe Quinn. He asked to be tucked in by there we go. So, anyways. So, later, Wild said Syed called him. They met in the Best Buy parking lot, which basically her body was in the trunk. They eventually abandoned Lee's car in a residential lot. Prosecutors presented cell phone tower records, which they said helped confirm his version of events. Another witness, Jennifer Pusteri, also helped confirm parts of Wild's testimonies. She basically said that Jay Wild had told her kind of the same story. Excuse me. The potential holes in the story. So perhaps the biggest revelation in Serial was the existence of an alibi witness for Syed, a young woman named Asia McClain. If you watch this, Asia McClain. That's the, why wasn't this girl there when we needed her? Who has said she was with him at the Woodland Public Library. If true, it would match Syed's version of events. She was never called to testify. I mean, this is major. And so, I mean, basically the story that he came with, because in the first series, whether you've seen it or not, they kind of did a timeline. Time is of the essence in this podcast, in this case. And the way that it's all done, they're able to say it was from here to here to here to here. They're able to create this timeline. And basically the timeline doesn't match for him to have killed this girl and done what they're claiming he did. And so that's where I get and especially with this testimony from her. Excuse me. Okay, so Jay, back to this. Let's continue. Jay Wiles gave 2 recorded police interviews and testimony in court. Inconsistencies on several major details have been pointed out among the 3 accounts. The credibility of the cell phone records, major, their technical reliability, and their harmony with the prosecution's timeline. So there. Has also been called into question. Physical evidence gathered in 1999 was never tested for Syed's DNA. The reasons for that aren't clear, but Syed reportedly said that his lawyer never told him about the evidence. Now, she was later disbarred by consent in 2001 after a series of client complaints emerged. At the time of her disbarment, she told the Baltimore Sun she had been struggling with multiple sclerosis. She died in 2004. So that right there, the fact that the whole thing that came about where they're like, no, your lawyers, I forget what the technical term is, but it's where you weren't represented good. They're basically saying, like, no, that wouldn't have changed the outcome of this case. And I'm just like, are you crazy? Like, she was disbarred. I mean, it's serious, for so many complaints. So, I mean, I just kind of look at it like, dude, like, this is, I mean, really, that's just what blows my mind. And so you just have to wonder, like, is it a political reason? Like, what's going on here? So, anyways. So basically, the season 1 finale, it revealed that the Innocent Project Clinic at the University of Virginia Law, they were looking into the case. They wanted to initiate some DNA tests and the physical evidence, yada yada. So, and then this is just considering things that happened since. So, by March 2018, Serial had been downloaded more than 175 million times. I mean, I kid you not, when that was going on, I don't know if you were into it, you remember it. I mean, that was literally... I mean, it was just like everybody was talking about it. I mean, and everybody wanted to solve it because it literally was like they were using stuff that people, us people solving the world's crimes from the comfort of our sofas were coming up with. They were like using this tidbits and stuff like that. And so it just, I mean, it was a very interesting, like kind of like pop culture phenomenon in true crime. I just thought it was really interesting. Okay, so let's see. So, they did eventually vacate his conviction and recommended a new trial. The judges cited ineffective legal counsel, among other things, and failing to call the alibi witness. So, I mean, this right there, to me, is major. I'm like, well, absolutely, this should have happened. McClain stated in an affidavit that she had sent Syed 2 letters after his arrest, which Syed had said prompted him to ask Gutierrez to contact her. Gutierrez later told him she had and that nothing had come of it. The entire statement was later discovered to be untrue. Yeah. So, in June, a judge granted Syed a new trial, specifically citing the unreliability of the cell phone evidence. But on Friday afternoon, the Maryland Court of Appeals reversed the lower appellate court's decision and reinstated Syed's conviction. In its opinion, the panel agreed that Syed's counsel had been deficient, but did not believe it had resulted in prejudice, given the totality of the evidence against Syed. So, I mean, what do you do with that? So then here's a little bit about the new series coming out. HBO has said that its new series, directed by Amy Berg, contains new discoveries as well as groundbreaking revelations that challenge the state's case. So, again, this is going to be so fascinating. Lee's family, the victim's family, has always maintained that Syed's conviction was just. We do not speak as often or as loudly as those who support Adnan Syed, but we care just as much about that case, the Lee family said in a statement shortly after the new trial was granted. We continue to grieve. We continue to believe justice was done when Mr. Syed was convicted of killing Hay. So this is very painful for them. I mean, because, and this is an example, and I think they were trying to say that this is kind of what the new documentary goes into a little bit, because at the end of the day, there is a victim in this and a family behind it. And what happens with a lot of these things is we get so caught up in, is he innocent? Is that the victim gets kind of put to the back burner in the situation. And that totally happened. I mean, everyone was so obsessed with, oh, he shouldn't be in prison. He's unfairly accused, and so on and so forth. And so it sounds like they're trying to paint this picture, just go a little bit of a different route of not making everything so about just the alleged, perpetrator or whatever. So, anyways, I just wanted to kind of go over that real quick. I want to see if anybody's wanted to talk about this one. I'll have to watch the update things of it again just to kind of see what's taking place. I honestly don't know what happens after this point. I'm sure it'll be a long process to see where things go now that the court has reinstated his sentence. I mean, it's just, I do believe, I personally, so for me, I don't think he did it. I think that he needs a new trial, or to have this thing vacated. There's so many little tidbits that do not add up with this case that I just feel like he's not where he's supposed to be. So, and I feel like probably someone in that circle knows exactly what happened and was involved in it. And that's my 2 cents on that. So anyways, if you want to talk about this, if you got some input on it, definitely drop some comments down there in the section. Remember, I'm going to drop some links in the description to go check out this. It's a New York Times article, I believe, so you can read about it. I'll try and see if I can put a link to the podcast in there too. If you haven't read it, you've got to listen to it. It's wonderfully produced. There's been 3 seasons of the show now. I have admittedly not listened to season 3. I'm not even sure what it's about. No, actually I have. I forget. Oh my gosh. It's pretty good, but we won't get it. That's a whole nother video. Season 1, by far, this case was just, cream of the crop. So, anyways, y'all will probably be seeing this on Monday. I don't know what time. So I hope you are having a wonderful Monday. I hope you have a wonderful Monday and a wonderful Monday evening and a great start to your week. And as usual, thank you very much for all the support. And we will talk soon.